I have extreme emotional problems. Yet my business has done $35 million despite crushing stress. I'll show you how you can fix these hidden productivity killers, protect your business, and finally hit your potential. The point is, yes, you can create a profitable business even if you're up. So this all started when I was a kid. I played Little League, and I don't know why, but I just had a temper. I just had no patience. I would get into arguments with the other kids, with the umpires, and it continued when I was older. I played in a rock band, and I would get so frustrated with my band members because they weren't writing good songs quick enough. And so they would quit, and we would get new band members, and eventually I just wanted to take matters into my own hands, and I started writing most of the songs myself. And what's funny is, it actually worked. When I took control of the situation, myself and my best friend Billy wrote a song that got us attention from a record label, and they actually offered us a record deal. We didn't take it. There's a whole thing behind that. But the point is, if you're anything like me, you find that sometimes when you just do it yourself, things get done, and you just don't have patience for other people. They get in your way, they slow you down. And this lack of patience has really negatively affected my life to the point where it affected my marriage. I got divorced. I was able to overcome that, remarry my wife, but I've always struggled to manage employees. Unless they were really good, then I had no problem. But if they weren't good, I struggled in leadership, right? And so imagine for a moment that you're a terrible leader, you have no patience, you have like a temper, you have all these things that you would think would just destroy a business, yet somehow you continuously remain successful and you win. And what I realized is that for some people, sure, you can use these tactics, you can go to therapy, and you can fix these things and you can be successful. But I went to therapy for 2 years, and I still get incredibly agitated when somebody gets in my way or they don't move fast enough. I don't want to be like that, but I am like that. And this is me honestly getting very vulnerable because you shouldn't be like this. It's not a good thing to be. But the point is, it is what it is. This is me. And so here are some things that will help you cope if you have things like imposter syndrome, impatience, anger problems, or whatever other emotional issues you might be facing, because entrepreneurship is an emotional game. It's not that hard to become a millionaire. What's hard is getting out of your own way. And the first thing that turned it all around for me was reading the book Rocket Fuel, which illustrates this concept that in a business you have visionaries and you have integrators. And basically the visionary is usually the owner of the company who comes up with the big concepts, who comes up with the vision, the overall ideas for making the business grow. But these visionaries are usually really messed up people. And so they aren't good at taking that idea and actually executing it or getting employees to actually do it. And it's funny because I always think of these people like myself, like rock stars. They write amazing songs because they're screwed up. They had enough stuff happen to them in their life that messed them up so bad that they can actually write great songs about it. But then they end up ODing and, well, you know, that's not good. So then you have integrators. Now, integrators are not as creative. They don't really have big visions, but they're masterful at taking a vision and getting it to actually happen. These are the people that hire, that fire, that lead, that motivate the team to do the thing. And so the book talks about how a great organization has a visionary and an integrator. And usually the visionary comes up with the ideas and the integrator babysits the visionary and makes sure he doesn't burn down the house that he just built. For instance, Apple. Steve Jobs was the visionary, Steve Wozniak was the integrator. That's why Apple was successful. It wasn't just Steve Jobs, it was Wozniak who made sure it didn't all fall apart. And so it took me years, but when I discovered that I needed to say, look, Dan, you're not a good friggin' manager. You're just not. You can't manage employees. You just want to light them on fire, and this is not good. Don't light your employees on fire. That's bad. Instead, hire someone and pay them a lot of money who is good at that. And so when I hired my COO, Joe, first of all, my business did better, but I got my life back because I have this incredible determination and this resilience. And so even though it's hard and it's stressful, I have in the past managed my team and got people to the finish line, but it was exhausting and it didn't allow me to fully exercise my creativity so that I could scale and really take things to the next level. But when I hired Joe, well, now I have the space and the freedom to use the gift that I have, use the gift that God gave me, this creativity, this visionary mindset, to make big things happen in the business and make it happen faster. And so the principle here is, look, if you suck at something, don't try to get better at it. Hire somebody who's good at it and then double down on what you are good at. The next thing that helped me cope was realizing that at the end of the day, the feelings that you have of, hey, is this all gonna fall down tomorrow? Is this a good idea? Do people still like me? Am I washed up? Will I ever become a big deal? Is this something I want to be doing in the next 5 years? All this stuff that as a beginner, you might be feeling. I feel this every freaking day. Every day I look at my stuff and I go, this is terrible. And then, my employees are like, what are you talking about? People love this stuff. My customers are like, that was gold, Dan. And I'm over here thinking like, I could have said that better. And I'm just picking myself apart. I'm literally like tearing myself apart and I'm criticizing myself. And I'm going through the same exact stuff you guys are going through. The difference is the broke version of me from years ago thought that I had to get over that so that I could then make money. But the millionaire version of myself now realizes that I will never get over that. That's just the state of humanity and being human. And it's how you proceed to win despite it. And so Mike Tyson had a quote that actually changed my life. He said, when you can train your mind to be stronger than your feelings, you can do anything. And what this means is that you will never get rid of these feelings. You have to proceed and do the thing anyway. It's like going to the gym. If you only go to the gym when you feel like going to the gym, you ain't gonna be very jacked. But if you can go to the gym even if you don't feel like it, that is when you get consistency. That is when you get there every day. That is when you start seeing a massive difference. I used to only go to the gym when I felt like it and I never got any gains. But when I started saying to myself, listen, it doesn't matter whether I feel like it or not. Look, I was fat and pudgy most of my life and I went to the gym, but I wasn't consistent because I thought, oh, I'll only go if I feel like it. But when I changed that mindset and I was like, look, it doesn't matter if I feel like it. I go because people who are in shape go to the gym no matter what. So if I want to be someone who's in shape, I need to think, act, and behave like someone who's in shape. And someone who's in shape goes to the gym whether or not they feel like it or not. And so instead of focusing on what I want to be jacked, I focus on becoming the person that deserved it. And the person that deserves it goes to the gym no matter what. And if you are paralyzed by your feelings, it's not your fault. Society tells you that. You watch these movies of these boxing champions, they're always fearless, Rocky's fearless. The thing is, champions aren't fearless, they simply do it scared. And when you can do it scared, when you can do it when you feel like you're not that great, when you can do it when you feel like everybody else is better than you, when you can do it when you feel like your stuff just isn't quite there yet, that's when you can do it. I cannot tell you the amount of entrepreneurs I've worked with who have literally had a great business, a great offer, and they just aren't promoting it. They just aren't moving because they feel like it isn't good enough yet. And look, the way you get good at it is when you go, okay, here's some marketing, here's some promotion, here's some effort. What worked, what didn't? Let me do more of what worked and let me do less of what didn't. In fact, all of our social media content we put in a database and we grade that content based on how many leads and views and reach it got, and we grade it by bronze, silver, gold, platinum. And so when we find pieces of content that go gold and platinum, we try to do more of that. And when we find content that does bronze and silver, we try to do less of that. But I would not know what to do more of and what to do less of if I didn't do it. So if I'm sitting there thinking like, how do I make the perfect content, but I'm not doing it, I'm not gonna find the data that tells me how to make the perfect content. And it's the same thing when you look to invest in your business to get consulting, to get help. It's like, oh, let me figure out my offer first and how to sell it before I buy the program that helps me sell it. Huh? I had a client one time who was thinking about investing in our mastermind. And he's like, man, I'm wanting to buy a house and I'm really saving up my money for that. and I'm just not clear on my offer. When I get clear on my offer, then I'll invest. And so I said to him, I said, listen, the reason why people join my program and get my help is so they can figure out their offer and their marketing. So you're basically saying, let me figure out the thing that you help with before I hire you to help me. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I said, listen, how much is the house you want to buy? He says, oh, it's like $300,000. I said, okay, would you be happier in a house that cost double that? And he's like, yeah, I would. I said, okay, if your business doubled in the next 12 months, could you buy a house worth twice that in the next year? And he said, yeah, obviously I could. I said, okay, do you believe that with my help, you can do that? And he said, yeah, I do. I said, then trust me. Invest in this. I will help you, and let's get you a bigger house. And here's the insane part. He only came on one call, ever. He comes on the call. He says, hey, this is my message for my offer. I said, oh, dude, well, you're breaking fundamental marketing concepts here. Like, you're breaking the rules, dude. Just do this, say this, boom. So he goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. So he goes out and does it, and then within a month, he makes back the money that he invested to get our help, and then he goes and over the next few months makes enough money to buy a house not double, but triple the cost of the original house that he was looking at. Now, I'm not telling you this story so that you'll buy my stuff. Look, you could be looking to invest in something else. You could be looking to get help with your taxes. You could say, listen, oh, I'll invest in your tax program when I have the extra money. It's like, dude, if you invest in the tax program and it saves you more than you make, then you have the money. And this actually happened to me. I invested $30,000 in a tax program and it saved me $400,000. And when I was initially pitched that offer, I was like, oh my gosh, $30,000. And she was like, dude, I'm looking at your tax return. You'll save $400,000. What are you talking about? What's more, 400 or 30? And I was like, oh, you're right. So I give her the $30,000. I get the tax plan. And that year, I saved $400,000. It was actually a little bit more, $400,000 in taxes. So I either don't know math or I hate money. And so this is the thing. Why would I even think to not invest in that? Because of emotions. Why would he go, oh my God, this is a guy who I am confident can help me change my marketing message and grow my business. If I can do that, I can make more money, I can buy a bigger house. It's just math, dude. It's math. For instance, one time I paid $50,000 for a 2-day mastermind with a speaking coach, and that turned into a $1 million speaking event for me. And when I told my father, hey, I spent 50 grand on a 2-day coaching session, he looked at me and he was like, why would you spend $50,000 to sit in a room and hear someone speak for a couple days? That's insane. Now see, to him, it's insane because my dad, I love him, and he's actually taught me a lot about life, but he's not an entrepreneur. So he doesn't understand. So when you say something like that to him, it sounds crazy. Asking somebody like that to invest $50,000, the immense fear someone would have. But my other entrepreneurial friends, when I told them that story, they were like, dude, you turned 50 grand into $1 million. That's amazing. And see, it's all about how you think about it. My dad, and again, I love him, he just doesn't think about it that way. And most of the time, the answer is staring you in the friggin' face. But you don't think about it that way because your emotions tell you, no, this sounds scary. You're not good enough. It's not perfect yet. And so you let these emotions rule your decision making. But the truth is you will never get rid of these emotions. I thought it was crazy to invest $50,000 for a 2-day consulting session. I thought it was crazy to pay a tax accountant $30,000 when I was used to going to like freaking TurboTax and doing it. Because most of my life I was poor. My mom did it on TurboTax. But I sat there and I said, listen, it's okay. It's okay for me to feel this. It's okay for me to have these emotions. I'm human. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna take these emotions and base my decision on it. So when you can base your decision on the logic that exists in your mind rather than the feelings that exist in your chest, now you know how to make decisions that make you millions. And man, you just gotta let it go. And here's a little visualization exercise you can do to actually execute on this. Imagine you're sitting on a porch in one of those, those benches that swings, and your emotions, the fear, the anger, etc., they're walking down the street. Now, instead of getting up off of the bench and running over to the emotion and embracing it, you simply wave to it. You accept that it's part of life. It's gonna walk down your street, probably every day, probably multiple times a day. Don't get up and go hug it. Just wave to it. Hi, anger. Hi, imposter syndrome. How you doing? I know you're here. You live on my street. It's fine. Have a great day. And then go make the decision that you know you need to make to improve your life and get what you deserve. Because those emotions are a byproduct of bad things that have happened to you, of trauma that you have experienced in your life, of things that didn't work out, of people that have told you things and put things in your head because it didn't work out for them, because life did not go the way they wanted it to go, so they're putting that bad logic and that bad decision making on you because they don't know any other way to be. But when you free yourself from that, you can make the decisions that you need to make, and you get what you deserve by becoming the person that deserves it. And the person that deserves it does not base their decisions, their strategy, and their execution based solely on how they feel. Because how you feel is so often a byproduct of things that happen to you in your life that caused you pain once, and you're continuously paying interest on that pain that you do not need to pay, and you're paying it over and over again. You're letting people that have screwed you over, or that have done bad things to you, or experiences that you have had that weren't great, live rent-free inside your head, when at any point you can evict that stuff from your brain and live the life that you want to live, how you want to live, with who you want to live it with, the way you want to live it with, however and whenever you want to live it. That is freedom. Now, if this video helped and you're just here for the content, subscribe, keep watching. But if you need help growing your business, I'll leave a link in the description where you can learn more on how we can help you do that. I'll see you in the next one.